What's up, guys? Sean Fowler here. This is Speak Up Sports. I'm glad to be back. As you see, I got the Speak Up shirt on with Sean Marcus. It's looking clean right now through the screen. But again, this is Speak Up Sports. I'm glad to be back, guys. I know it's been a while. Try to be a lot more consistent. Well, I will be more consistent, giving y'all great content, when it comes to sports, particularly boxing, which we're going to be talking about today. Football, basketball, maybe track when that comes around. The list goes so on and so on. So again, it's good to be back. I'm your host, Sean Fowler Jr. here. And again, like I mentioned boxing, right? I mentioned boxing. Boxing for me is my third favorite sport behind the NFL and also behind the NBA. And I love boxing because I don't think it's a much anticipated sport than a boxing match. Because if you were to go outside, I remember Max Kellerman had said this on ESPN a while back. He said, if you were to go outside and see some guys playing hoops, playing football, that's cool. If you see a fight, everybody's going to come to the fight and see who's fighting because it's something different. It's a different energy. It's a different focus. It's a different tension with boxing. So, for boxing with me, one of my favorite fighters today is Errol Spence Jr. The guy's 28-0, 21 knockouts, maybe 22 because he got a TKO against his recent opponent, Udonis Ugas. And it was a great fight. Me and my cousin, we ordered the fight. Errol Spence took care of business. I said before the fight began that it would be a TKO in the 10th round. And I was right. I could have won money by it too. I think he would have won like maybe 500, however much money. I don't know if he placed a bet. I should have placed a bet because I was right. It was a TKO in the 10th round. But I'm gonna show a little highlights like I normally do. But I think what makes Errol Spence so dynamic is because, again, he's a welterweight, right? He's a welterweight, but he can fight. He can fight at the. He can fight as a middleweight. He gets up sometimes to 180, he said. And he said, because his nutrition wasn't right, he gets lazy sometimes. He might lose weight and he'll have to drop like 40 pounds in the camp. And usually the camp guys for, people who aren't as into boxing, the camp is about 2 months. So you're dropping 40 pounds just to get into shape. I mean, it takes a lot. We see him right there with the black trunks and the green trim. That's the guy who just fought, Udonis Ugas. And again, he just put a pounding on him. I mean, my cousin said it best. He said it looked like he's hitting the heavy bag. I mean, he's just going uppercut, hitting the body. And that's pretty much all he did for all 12 rounds. He didn't leave. He was on him the whole time. And this is the reason why I believe Errol Spence Jr. is one of the best fighters today, is because he doesn't stop coming at you. He doesn't stop coming. He's not necessarily the fastest fighter. He's probably not even the most quote-unquote exciting fighter. He's not going to make you miss with his head moving like a pretty boy Floyd, or Floyd Money Mayweather, I should say. He's not going to make you miss and do all those things. He's not going to evade punches. But at the same time, I mean, he's tough. He's rugged. He's going to keep pounding you the whole fight, and he's going to bring the fight to you. And, the thing I respect about Earl is he just keeps it 100. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is he just keeps it honest the whole time. He's not the most flamboyant guy. He's humble in a way, but he's not going to let you just talk trash about him. He says as well himself that he looks at the YouTube comments. He looks at the people, who talk bad about him. You see Michael Irving in the stadium. That was in Dallas Cowboys Stadium. He's from Texas, Dallas, Texas as well. And again, we see right there, he got stunned. I believe this is in the 6th round. That's his mom shouting and stuff. He got stunned because his mouthpiece that came out, as I'm sure they're going to show the replay. But, it takes a chin. As you see right here, he caught his mouthpiece. Boom, boom, hit him twice. But he still, ropes kind of helped him, stay up. But even after that, when he got stunned, I think he still won that round. He came back. What is he doing? He's still attacking. He's still fighting. But again, like I said, I just respect Errol Spence, man. He's, I think he's an intelligent guy. From what they show on All Access, he's He seemed like a good father and stuff like that. And he's just about his business. He had a traumatic car accident back in October 10th, 2018, after his victory against Sean Porter. And he said, if you see the video, he really could have been killed. But basically he just said, he just had to change some things about his lifestyle, and he got a farm. He became a farmer. And again, I don't want to get too off subject, but I just like his mindset and his durability, and just him, being able to continue to adapt to his opponents and continue to, be resilient. After that car crash, especially in boxing, if you would have seen his face, how he looked, I mean, not too many guys are thinking about fighting again. He fought 14 months later, and he didn't have a tune-up fight. What I mean by that is he didn't have an opponent he came back from, and he just fought just because he know he can win. He said, he wants the best of the best, and he did that, beating Danny Garcia. Then he's going to face Pacquiao, but he messed up his eye. Again, resilience. Came back facing Dennis Ugas, a champion who he just beat. This guy he's facing, he's the guy that beat Pacquiao because Spence couldn't because of his eye. So with Errol Spence Jr., I give him a lot of credit, man. I think he's one of the best today, the best boxers today. And we all know, for the boxing fans, Terrence Crawford, who's another champion in the welterweight division at 147, and also Errol Spence, they're supposed to fight. Spence called him out, but we understand that boxing is a business, right? We understand that boxing is a business, and things might take long. I'm a big Floyd Mayweather fan as well, one of my favorite athletes, and he's supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao in 2010. But it took an extra 5 years because, hey, maybe business, promotions, greed, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, that fight happened. So, with Errol Spence Jr., I'm really excited, and I can't wait for the fight to happen against Terrence Crawford, another great champion who's also undefeated in the welterweight class. So, I'm really excited to see those two guys clash, and I can't wait. And most likely it should be probably at the end of this year at the latest. So going on from boxing to the NBA, as we see down here, the Lakers and the Nets. Okay, the Lakers and the Nets. Who was more disappointing? We seen the Brooklyn Nets just got defeated against the Boston Celtics 2 nights ago. The Los Angeles Lakers. I'm a Lakers fan, Laker Nation all day. To the day I die, that's no L-I-E. You know what I mean? I'm a Lakers fan. I love the Lakers since I was a kid, mainly because of Kobe and Shaq. And then when Shaq left, all Kobe. Rest in peace, all Kobe. I love the Lakers since then. And I don't have to get too much of a backstory of my love for the Lakers, but I want to dissect each team real quick. So when it comes towards, say, the Boston Celtics defeating the Brooklyn Nets, the reason why I believe this is such a disappointment for this particular team is because hey, they had Kyrie Irving coming to the season. We seen what happened to them last year. They had Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie ended up getting hurt, and it gets a second round against a eventual chance Milwaukee Bucks, and that pretty much, it slim more their chances of winning the championship last year. A lot of people say if Kyrie would have stayed healthy with James Harden and Kevin Durant, who went to a Game 7 with the Milwaukee Bucks, they would have beat the Bucks last year, and they almost beat them without Kyrie Irving. So again, coming into this season with everything, obviously, it's really the first full season, I believe, or the second full season that NBA teams had to deal with the COVID situation, and it was just a distraction from the beginning. When it comes towards the Brooklyn Nets, because Kyrie Irving didn't get vaccinated. Now, me personally, hey, he's a grown man, he can make his own decisions, but because he's in New York and the mandate and everything, he couldn't play the home games, but he could play the away games. So now you have one of your star players who can play only away games but not home games. Eventually, they end up changing the mandate in New York, and he was able to play the home games a few weeks ago. But the reason why it was, the Nets were disappointed is because you had all this talent. You traded away James Harden. One of your other superstars. He wanted to get out of there. He didn't know the whole thing with Kyrie Irving. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? So I'm going to go to Philly. So they had a trade that bring Ben Simmons, which is a whole other subject in itself that I'll probably touch on soon. And he didn't get to play. He didn't play because he's having his they call it mental illness and things like that. I don't think he's as confident in his game because of X, Y, and Z. Again, that's a whole other subject in itself, a whole other episode in itself, to be honest. But again, I just believe the Brooklyn Nets, to get swept is one thing. Now the Boston Celtics, again, I wasn't sold on them. I wasn't sold on Boston. I feel like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are really good players, but they're just not that guys. They're not superstars. We've seen them lose against the Heat a few years ago in the bubble Eastern Conference Finals. We've seen them lose against, I think it was the Milwaukee Bucks, probably the year prior before that, when they had Kyrie Irving. And to be honest, it kind of makes sense why they had Kyrie, because this is a young team, right? This is a young team who has stars. They just need that third guy who can help elevate them and take them to that next level. And I thought that's why Kyrie Irving was there. But, hey, I got to be honest. Jason Tatum this season, he's been balling, man. Somebody said he's a top 3 player in the NBA right now. If we're speaking right now as far as the playoffs, and that's a Kobe move. Those are Kobe moves that he's doing. And we know that that he admired Kobe, excuse me. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see, Jason Tatum do his thing, and Jaylen Brown as well. You can't sleep on him. So collectively, as a team, themselves, I think the Boston Celtics, they're just, hey, they're just better coached. I think they had more chemistry during the whole season. They didn't have to go through is one of our star players going to be able to play in away games and home games and things of that nature. And they just had more chemistry, and they show why, hey, basketball, sure if you have talent, you can end up prevailing, but when you have that chemistry, when you like playing with the next guy, besides you, and you have that talent, it can go a long way. And this is why they end up beating the Brooklyn Nets in this game, in the game 4 in Brooklyn, a sweep. And again, they didn't look fearful. They didn't look like, oh, we're not supposed to be here. Nah, we supposed to be here. We're gonna beat excuse me, I always broke FCC. We're gonna kick their butts, at home. We're gonna come back. We might have to come back from deficits, big deficits like we've been having to come back from. They were down, I believe, 17 the first game, 15 the second game. They were down big each of the first 3 games. That is in the Boston Celtics, and then. In game 4, they just took it, this is game 4. So, for me, I think when it comes to the Lakers and the Nets were disappointed because they got swept. It's one thing to get beat, but for you to get swept and you got all that talent and Kyrie can finally play at home, I just think that's unacceptable. I don't think that's good at all. So I was surprised they got swept. I was pulling for them because as a Los Angeles Lakers fan, we don't like the Boston Celtics. I don't really care for Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. I think they're good players. I just wasn't more of a believer in them. But hey, I gotta give credit where credit is due. They stepped up. They ended up beating the Brooklyn Nets, and now you have to. If you're the Brooklyn Nets fan or you're in the Brooklyn Nets organization, you have to start asking questions. Do you just right the ship? Do you kind of get rid of Kyrie Irving? If you're Kevin Durant, are you staying there? Now these guys have contracts. You know what I mean? So. Of course, the NBA players opt in, opt out every time, but it's somebody might have to be the scapegoat. It could be Steve Nash. I believe this is his 3rd year coming up coaching for this Brooklyn Nets team, or his 4th year, I believe, 3rd or 4th year. And he's 7-9 in postseasons. So I don't know. The Brooklyn Nets, you definitely have some questions that needs to be answered. So going on to my team, the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers this year, we were terrible. And this is the most games that I probably watched, as far as the Lakers, probably my whole life, even since the Kobe days. Literally, let's just say I had the NBA League Pass, quote unquote, and I watched almost every game that they had. And again, I'm a diehard Lakers fan, and it was just disappointing. And it's mostly disappointing because of the health. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, it's supposed to be the big 3. And coming in, I'm not going to lie, it was like, LeBron James is basically the point guard of his teams. No matter where he goes, he's always the point guard, or the point forward, quote unquote. So LeBron, I don't think he's the best off-ball player. So when you have a guy like Russell Westbrook who's very ball dominant and he's not the best shooter, it's going to be kind of tough. That's why everyone said the fit's not going to work. And if this is a Russell Westbrook, let's say even his first year at Houston Rockets, he was still somewhat reminiscent of himself from his OKC days. Then maybe this could have worked because you're getting still the same explosive Russell Westbrook. You're getting a guy who can still, shoot decently from the 3-point line. When he was in OKC, someone who can at will give you, somewhat efficient games and a triple-double as well. But this is, electrifying all up and down the court. But that wasn't the case, and a lot of people blame Russell Westbrook, but it wasn't a great fit all around. Again, I believe health was the main issue. Anthony Davis missed half the season, if not more than half of the season of 82 games. LeBron James only played 56 games, and his averages was still LeBron James worthy. He averaged 30 points a game, 8 rebounds and 6 assists. I mean that's amazing for a 37-year-old. And again, I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, but for him to continue to be at that point, I mean that's still incredible. But again, Russell Westbrook, 18 points a game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists was his average. And I just want to show this game because this is probably like when it came towards the Lakers having a win. This is basically their playoff game, because after they lost this game, they went on a terrible losing streak. They had a losing streak coming into this, to be honest. But this is the game that if they win this game, they can make the playoffs. I know you probably can't see the score right now, but the Lakers are up 20. They're up 65 to 45 right now. So I'm showing some of the highlights. But we still lost this game. I remember like it was yesterday. I'm like, great, okay, LeBron is going in. He scored like the first 8 points. It's like 3 of 3. You see the Dwight Howard right there with the lay-in. And again, the Lakers, this is their playoff game, because after this, they're fighting a team to make the play-in. And I'm going to go ahead and say who's the more disappointing team. The Lakers are more disappointing than the Nets, only because the Lakers couldn't even make the play-in game. The play-in game is a rule that the NBA came up with a couple years ago, coming back from the bubble, where teams, it's usually 8 teams that make the playoffs. Well, it still is, but they stretch it to 10 seeds. Basically, where if you're ranked from the 7th seed to the 10th seed, in order for the last few games to be meaningful, because the NBA is a long season, they're going to have teams fight for a playoff position. So you can get the 7th, you can get an 8th seed, but if you're the 9th or 10th seed, you can still have a chance to make the playoffs. And have a 2 out of 3. If you win the best 2 out of 3 games as a 9th or 10th seed, facing the 7th or 8th seed, you can make the playoffs. So again, this is a rule that they just put in. But the whole point, though, is that the Lakers couldn't even make the play-in game. They couldn't even get to the potentially, being able to get to the tournament. Whereas the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, they got swept, and it was embarrassing. But at the same time, it's like the Lakers, I mean, with all this talent, you couldn't even make the play-in game. And as a Lakers fan, it just stinks, because I would love to see AD, Russell Westbrook, my guy Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James playing the playoffs right now. We understand what the ratings would do. First, because it's LeBron also, and it's a Los Angeles Lakers that's in the playoffs. So the fact that they couldn't even make the play-in game, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. So for me, again, we see the score right here, 81-69. We were up 20 points. It's starting to chip down inch by inch. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this a little bit to show you where it was at. And just disheartening. Now look, we were up 20. Now it's 94-91 with 9 minutes left in the game. Bam! Now we're up 1 point. So it's really disheartening to see the Lakers not make the playoffs, not even make the play-in games. At least get your hopes up. At least tease you a little bit. You know what I mean? So if I had to choose, I would say the Los Angeles Lakers are still more disappointing. I see the memes. I see the comparisons. Hey, all the Nets did was just play an extra week of basketball only to get swept and go home. That's true. But if I had to choose, man, it's still the Lakers. They're still more disappointing because of the expectations for Laker Nation. We always have championships on our mind. When you have the best player in the NBA, regardless if it's health or not, you still at least expect to make the playoffs. At least the play-in. If we were to get beat in the play-in tournament, that's one thing. But we couldn't even make the play-in tournament. So, man, I'm getting upset all over again. So, for me as well, I'm saying the Lakers are more disappointing. And also, at least for the Brooklyn Nets, they had some huge trades happen towards the end of the season. James Harden going to Philadelphia. You know what I mean? That was a big trade. It's going to take you time to gel in with your new teammates. You know, Philly's having their own issues, but the point though I'm trying to say is that their original big three, they shipped them away. You know, our original big three, they just weren't as healthy. Mainly Anthony Davis, LeBron James was back and forth a little bit too. This is the most games he's missed in his career on an organization. But when he played, he was effective like he normally is. So for me, I'm gonna say the Lakers are more disappointing as well. And that's my take on that. So guys, I'm pretty much done talking about these subjects today. I said we got a comment. I'm gonna read the comment in a minute. But again, I'm gonna be more consistent coming in Wednesday and Thursdays. If you guys like to talk sports as well when it comes to football, basketball, boxing, I don't care if it's golf as well. We seen Tiger Woods about 3 weeks ago come back from his car accident in the Masters. It wasn't Tiger's expectations. He didn't do as well. But my point in bringing that up is because, hey, I like golf too, especially when Tiger's playing. So, if you guys are interested in coming on, talking about sports, any other topics or topics you want to see me talk about or rankings, whatever it is, just DM me as well. Sean Fowler. That's my name on Facebook. My dad, the owner of Speak Up, gave me this platform as well, Speak Up Sports, and we're going to try to continue to bring more content each and every day. So again, guys, I'm going to go ahead and read the comment. Who do I like for the Falcons? I don't know. I really got to check the draft again. I'm not going to lie. I got to check the draft and really see who's the best fit for us. We got Mariota. People are still saying quarterbacks. I think the Falcons, quarterback-wise, I like Marcus Mariota. I think he would do. I think he definitely deserves a second chance to play in the starting role. I'm excited for him. But the Falcons need a lot of help. I stay over here in Flowery Branch. I can still run at least a 4 or 5. Hey, I'm down the street. Let's go. And I'm dead serious when I say that. But the Falcons need a lot of help. I don't think it's just one position. We got to get better on defensively. We got to get better when it comes towards the receivers as well. Missing Calvin Ridley and things like that. Now, I don't think Baker Mayfield will be a good fit only because, Marcus Mariota. I don't know at this point. I don't think he'll be a good fit for Atlanta for what we need. I think they really want to experiment with Marcus Mariota. His former coach, offensive coordinator, was the current head coach, Arthur Smith, our head coach right now. So he's kind of familiar with the Tennessee way, Marcus Mariota. So, what do I think Baker Mayfield's going? I don't know. It's going to be tough. I would have thought Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh might look like a valuable option, or the right option because they're kind of need of a quarterback. Rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. But they're in need of a quarterback as well. In the AFC North, he's still familiar with that division. I don't see why he want to go to Pittsburgh, to be honest. But it's not even full off season yet. What I mean by that is it is full off season. I'm tripping. It's April. The draft about to come. But I think teams will start contacting him probably after the draft. So, but next week, teams will know what they're dealing with. What about Brady? Thank you for the comments, though. Thank you for the comments. I appreciate the comments. Tom Brady, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. I thought he was done. He's coming back again to hunt us Falcons fans. I'm tired of him. But, hey, he's the GOAT. I don't think he's saying anything. I don't know if he's saying anything else in the comments. But other than that, guys, have a blessed night. He is. Of course he's still relevant. Tom Brady's the GOAT. He's always going to be relevant. If you're not stinking, if you're winning, if you're almost winning, if you continue to win each and every year and you're elite, you're never going to be irrelevant. That's just the truth in everything. If you're a celebrity, you're still selling albums, whatever it is, you're still making Oscars and getting Oscars and doing well, you're never going to be relevant because you're still being successful in whatever you're blessed to do. So he's always going to be relevant. But again, guys, I'm going to wait 2 more seconds, see if he says something else. All right. Again, guys, thank you for tuning in to Speak Up Sports with Sean Fowler Jr. Again, we're going to at least post twice a week. So have a blessed night, and I'll see you soon.